Really nice to meet you. I mean, I guess this is kind of meeting you in a sense of over the phone. So nice to meet you in the sense of over the phone.
Nice to meet you too over the phone.
Right on. So are you live in New Jersey or do you live in Nashville?
I live in New Jersey.
Oh, okay, right.
I wish I lived here, but yeah, I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, right on. Do you spend a lot of time in Nashville, Tennessee?
I try and come out here as much as I can. I'm actually here right now in Nashville.
Oh, nice.
So this is the first time I've been away since the pandemic started. Nashville was actually my last flight. Came here in February, and then in March the pandemic hit. So yeah, this is my first time back, but this is one of my favorite places to come. So from now on, now that I can travel and restrictions are a little bit less in terms of traveling time and everything, I plan on coming here a little bit more.
I love that. What do you love about Nashville, Tennessee versus New Jersey? What do you think is different here from there?
I honestly think a lot of it has to do with the people, and I honestly love the weather here. Even though, like, I know a lot of people, I was talking to people, and they're like, oh, it's cold. And I'm like, no, this feels great. At home, it's like 30-something degrees right now. So it just feels nice to, walk outside and not feel like I have to wear a jacket. But I really love the atmosphere here. And the people are incredible. And I love how everything is so focused around music. There's a cool music scene in New Jersey, but I feel like this one definitely takes the cake for me.
And I feel like people are nicer here because I'm from St. Louis originally, and I feel like one of the big transitions, I moved here a decade ago, and one of the big transitions was getting used to when people would say hi, I would notice people staring at me, and I thought they wanted to fight or something, and then they just would say hello, and you don't really see that. Maybe it's the Southern hospitality thing, but you don't see that in a lot of parts of the country.
I completely agree with you. Seriously, I mean, we were crossing the street today, and somebody stopped for us, and it's like, I'm originally from New York with my family, and New Jersey, so it's just funny because nobody stops for you. It's like everybody just wants to keep going, and nobody's nice, like you said. Nobody waves, even where I live now. So it's a completely different thing. It has to definitely be the Southern hospitality for sure.
Oh, absolutely. So you're only 18 years old. You're one of the younger artists that I've interviewed, I'd say, on the show. And one of the things I asked, obviously, I can't have bands live in the studio now, which I think we're getting pretty close to letting bands come back in. Honestly, I'm not afraid of it. I think it's more of a policy thing. But But one of the things about that is I feel like I interviewed so many bands that were, maybe not older, but more established and had toured for years and years and years. But I didn't interview a lot of younger bands. What was it like for you to be, a young singer-songwriter? Things are starting to happen, and then all of a sudden, boom, you just can't play shows. How did you process that time over this last year?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little bit of a struggle. I mean, I had my first release and I had a show, and then I had a year in between releases, and I was kind of really figuring out when am I going to put the record out, and not playing shows is a huge thing. I didn't really play out a lot before, and I really wanted to. That was really going to be something that I was going to kind of ramp up, and then the pandemic hit, and I wasn't able to do that. So for me, it's just kind of about being consistent with music and releasing things that, keep people's attention and keep them wanting to listen to my music, and having enough to where, when I go out and play a show, everybody knows the songs and everybody's just, jamming out. And hopefully that's sooner rather than later. And as soon as I can, I would love to definitely get out there and play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's heading in that direction. It seems like things just look really positive. Maybe I'm being naive, but it looks like there's a positive horizon coming our way. One thing about you, too, that I noticed when I was looking at your bio a couple days ago that Brian had sent me, you were on American Idol. Is that true?
Yes, I was. Yeah.
How was that? One time long ago I drove a buddy of mine to one of those auditions, and he went on. He auditioned for the judges and everything. He did pretty well, but he didn't. He looked really unkempt, and so they had said to him, "We wanted you to shower and look like you were going to do a show." So he didn't make it through, and I think that was possibly why, because he did. He looked terrible. But how was it for you to do the whole American Idol experience? Is that pretty surreal?
Yeah, I mean, it was very surreal, and I just feel like it was a huge confidence boost for me, and, out of 100,000 people, I was one of the 100 that made it to Hollywood, and that was being 17 and having that happen to you is pretty crazy, especially at that time. I was like, oh, I don't really know where this is going to go. I don't know where it's going to take me, and I mean, it was a really great learning experience, and I didn't love it. I'm not a very big showy person, or my personality is pretty calm, so I wasn't super over the top, and I know that they usually look for like a lot of characters, and that wasn't me. But I mean, the experience was a great one because I learned so much. And had I never done that, I never would have created my first record. And really that gave me such a confidence boost to say that out of all those people, I was one of the ones that made it to Hollywood. So it was cool.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those things too. If anything, it just shows that there's some sort of moment where it's like, yeah, you made it through to get the Hollywood thing, which is always the hard thing to do. And did you get to perform in front of the judges for American Idol?
Yeah, so I had my audition for the judges in Louisville actually, and then I got my golden ticket and I was able to perform in Hollywood, and it was at the Orpheum Theater, which was beautiful. So it was really cool.
That's awesome. I love that. So what is the connection? We're talking to Sydney Sherwood on the Local Buzz right now. What is the connection to Brian Craddock and the Daughtry guys? Because Brian was the one that initially sent me your stuff, and I got to be honest, I get sent all kinds of stuff. And the moment he sent me your stuff, I think he sent me Creep and maybe Wolves, I think were the songs, and I immediately dug them. So what's the connection you have to Brian?
Yeah, so it's kind of a long story, so I'll sum it up a little bit, but I had posted a cover of their song Backbone when it came out, and
nice.
They had reposted it, and that was like such a huge thing for me. I am like seriously one of the biggest Daughtry fans. I could probably tell you every single song and every single record in order. So when they reposted, I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And a few months later, I went to a pop-up show that they had in Brooklyn. And I was just kind of talking to Brian, and he was like, oh, you're the one that posted the video. And we started talking, and then a few months later, I went to another show in New Jersey, and he was like, you know what, let's like record something together. Why don't you come to Nashville and we'll record a song? And I was like, this is crazy, because these were all people that I looked up to, and Brian especially, and he invited me, and we went down to Nashville, and my mom and I, and she comes everywhere with me. She's my mom, but she's also my manager, so it's very nice. We have a great relationship with that. And we went to Nashville, and we recorded Creep in February of last year, and we've been working together ever since, and he's such a pleasure to work with and really a dream come true because, I mean, I never would have ever thought that I would have been working with somebody that I looked up to for so long, so it's really awesome.
Yeah, and isn't that kind of like, I have a hard time expressing this to like people who don't do the music thing, but those kind of moments I feel like are so invaluable, and they're more important than any sort of money or any sort of success. It's like when someone you grew up loving like almost like approves of what you do and then wants to jump on board to help you do it. Like that is the coolest thing, honestly, that can happen, I think, in a musician's life, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. And with Brian, too, I mean, he's become such a good friend of mine and such an amazing mentor, and he's taught me so much. And I really love working with him because he really pushes me to do things that I never really thought I could have done. And I feel like he really helps me find my place in music and find the genre that I love and that I want to continue releasing music in. And, I was actually recording with him the past few days, and he always makes me do things, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. And he's like, just do it. It's going to sound great, and he always gives me that confidence. And he really has helped me a lot, and I'm very thankful that I get to work with him and really blessed that I get to work with him.
That's awesome. And I have to say, I feel like all the dudes in that band, considering how big their band is, they are the most stand-up, like down-to-earth guys. It's kind of eerie.
Totally.
You know what I mean? Like even Chris, every single one of those guys, it's like, wow, you're just the nicest dudes ever.
Literally, it's so true.
So what is the rest of 2021 looking like for you? I mean, obviously things are getting a little better. Are you looking to maybe put some more music out? I know your record just came out in February, but are you looking to maybe play some shows? What does 2021 look like for Sydney Sherwood?
Yeah, so I mean, in New Jersey right now, things are still pretty closed. Not a lot of live music is happening, but I'm hoping that the summer kind of changes that. And I love playing at the Stone Pony. That's where I had my release show, and as soon as that opens back up, I definitely want to get back there and play. That venue is so cool, and being able to play there is really awesome. And, I'm really just looking forward to just continuously releasing music. Like I said before, I took a gap between my first and second record. It was a year gap, and I really want to make sure that I am really consistently releasing because it's something that I love to do. And honestly, not that the pandemic was a good thing, but had it never happened, I wouldn't have really took the time to focus on my music, and it kind of gave me this new view about, really wanting to release and record and write more. So for me, I feel like the future is just, releasing, recording, writing more, And again, hopefully playing shows as soon as that's possible. And I would love to eventually go on tour. That's one of my dreams. So, yeah, lots of things in the future that I'm very excited for. And again, had the pandemic ever happen, I may not have even considered them. So it's been a crazy year, but it's been a productive one as well.
I love that. Well, one thing I do on the show sometimes, Sydney, is I play a thing called the 5 random question game with bands, but I always ask, so would you like to play the game?
Yes, I would love to.
All right, let's get the music going here. Boom. All right. Question number 1 was Sydney Sherwood on the local buzz. So Easter's coming up. I want to ask you this question. It's a very controversial candy, it seems. Peeps or no thanks?
If I was younger, I would have definitely said yes to Peeps. But now that I'm older, I really don't like marshmallows, so I'm going to have to say no thanks.
No, I feel that. Question number 2 is Sydney Sherwood on the local buzz. A couple of days ago, I was in the studio drumming, and I hit the drums pretty hard, I guess, and I chipped a tooth while I was drumming. First time this has ever happened. So my question to you is, I was rocking too hard, or I was rocking just hard enough?
I would say just hard enough.
I think so, too. It's going to be a new thing. I better get some fake teeth because these are all going to go. Question number 3 was Sydney Sherwood on the local buzz. If you could have your dream tour, we're talking like 65 dates, direct support, whatever band in the entire world, you can have that tour. But when you come back from the tour, you have to, for a living, drive a pedal tavern for an entire summer down in Nashville, Tennessee on Broadway. Would you take that tour?
I'm going to have to say yes, because the summer's not too long, even though that would probably kill me, because I literally said yesterday, I'm like, oh, could you imagine one of the bartenders working in the middle of that? Oh, my gosh, it must be terrible. But I would probably say yes. If it was my dream tour, then 100%.
I love it. You're in it for the right reasons, but I agree. I think it'd be very tough. But at the same time, you're right. It would probably lead to something else. Question number 4 was Sydney Sherwood on the local buzz. What's some advice you would give to your younger self? We never ask ourselves that. Like, wherever, something you can go back in time and give yourself some sort of tip that might make the future easier for you. What would it be?
I would just say to not be so hard on myself, and to, really believe in myself and what I can do and what I can accomplish. I feel like, I'm a very practical person, and sometimes I put limits on myself. And I definitely did that when I was younger, and I was like, oh, am I good enough to do this? So just believing in myself, I would have definitely been like, you have so many years ahead of you to get good at your craft. Just focus on what you're doing now and what you can do now, and not be too hard on yourself for sure.
It's good advice. Very good advice. Question number 5, the final question, with Sydney Sherwood on the local buzz. So everything's finally done. The pandemic is over. All restrictions are lifted. You walk out on stage. We're talking a sea of people, 1,000 people at the Stone Pony there just to see you. What is the first thing you say to them when you walk back onto that stage?
Oh, man, I don't know. I guess, I don't know, welcome back. It's been so long, so happy to be here. Literally, I feel like that's going to be my first words, because I've missed live music so much and going to concerts, and I'm sure other people feel the same way. So I guess welcome back is the only way to really sum that up,
Welcome back. I think it sums it up perfectly. Well, thank you for playing. I love that. Well, Sydney Sherwood, I would love once things are thank you. Once things are back to normal, I would love to have you come into the studio live and hang out. Maybe we can get Brian to come up too. I've had JP on the show, and I've even had Chris, but I've never had Brian. We got to change that. We'll get him up here, get you up here. It'll be a great time. But go check out the record. It's called Headspace. It's out now. We're going to play this song Creep real quick, but before I do that, tell me something about this tune.
Yeah, so Creep, I kind of mentioned it a little bit before, but I wrote and recorded it over a year ago at Brian's studio. And, it's funny because I didn't really have any intention when I went in of writing a song about anxiety and what I've been through. And it really turned into that. And, that is probably one of my favorite songs that I've ever written with Brian. And the song is basically about my struggle with anxiety and depression and my experience and what it's like to have a panic attack. And I also wanted the song to kind of serve as a visual aid for people who may not understand what that's like and may not understand that feeling. When I was going through it, I just felt like people were very, oh, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. Just be positive. Just forget about it. It'll go away. But it's really hard to tell somebody who's really at war with themselves and in their own mind, because the same mind that can think really beautiful things can also think really negative thoughts as well. So that song is all about the feelings that I went through during my experience, and I just wanted it to kind of be an anthem for people who may have experienced the same.
I love that. So it's a song with a good message, and it's a cool tune on top of that. So I love that. Well, Sydney, it's been great talking to you, and I can't wait to see you here live in Nashville, Tennessee at some point in the future. Creep, Sydney Sherwood on Nashville's Rock Station 102 on the